Hi guys, in this video we're gonna do multiplication and division involving a zero. So we're gonna see what happens when a zero is multiplied or divided by a number, and we're gonna see what happens when any number is divided by zero. Let's get started. So to understand these questions, we need a simple example. What is 3 multiplied by 2? So the thing is, multiplication is repeated addition. So 3 multiplied by 2 is the same as 3 added to a 3, which is a 6. So we're going to use the same idea to answer these questions. So what is a 0 multiplied by a 6? So this is saying add a 0 6 times. So you're adding 6 zeros. So we're going to have 0 added to a 0 and etc. So clearly the answer is a 0. So that means 0 multiplied by a 6 is a 0. Then on the next question we have 100 multiplied by a 0. So think of it this way. We're gonna add a 0 100 times. So it means we're gonna add 100 zeros. So we're gonna have a 0 added to a 0 added to all the zeros up until the last 0. So this is still a 0. So that means 100 multiplied by 0 is 0. So this means 0 multiplied by 0 is 0. So we can therefore conclude that anything multiplied by a 0 is 0. So to do these problems, we need a simple example. So what is 12 divided by 4? Well, division is a repeated subtraction. So to divide a 12 by 4 means we're going to subtract a 4 from a 12 until we get a 0. So let's do that now. So when we subtract a 4 from a 12, for the first time we'll get 8. This is our first round. Then the second round, we're going to take the 8 and subtract the 4 again. Then we get 4. Then for the third round, we'll take the 4 and subtract the 4 again. So if we subtract a 4 from a 4, we'll get a 0. So now we stop subtracting. So this means that 12 divided by 4 is 1, 2, 3. Because we need 3 rounds to get to the 0. Now let's check. What is 0 divided by 6? So if we try to do the same here, we're gonna start from the 0. We have to subtract the 6 from the 0. This one. And we're not allowed to continue whenever we reach a 0. So we stop here. So this means the answer is 0 here. And the same applies here. We're gonna start from a 0 if we try to subtract 100 from a 0. So we stop at 0. So the answer is 0. So therefore, zero divided by any number is 0. To understand this problem, we need to use the idea of repeated subtraction. So let's make a small example. What is 5 divided by a 0? So this means we have to subtract a 0 from a 5 until we get a 0. So we're going to have 5, subtract a 0, then we get a 5. Then if we continue, take the 5, subtract a 0 again, still get a 5. Take a 5, subtract a 0, we get a 5 again. Take a 5 and subtract a 0, we'll get a 5. So this pattern will continue forever. Can you see that? So in maths, we say this situation is undefined. Because we don't really know what's happening here. So that means any number divided by a 0 is undefined. So even when we can say what is 100 divided by a 0, the answer is undefined. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.